Hey, this is Sam Black, and today I'm going to play a very slight update on the deck that I finished 7th at Grand Prix Charlotte with last weekend. This is Death Shadow Aggro, or Suicide Zoo, or Death Shadow, or whatever you want to call it. The basic idea behind the deck is to play a lot of free or very cheap spells that cost you life, and lands that cost you life, to get a low life total, so that Death Shadow is a large creature very early in the game, and then to use that and other cheap, large aggressive creatures with combat tricks, mutagenic growth, become immense, and Temur battle rage to assemble a very fast attack for your opponent's life total or more. So the creatures in the deck are Wild Nicottle, Monastery Swift Spear, Death Shadow, and Step Links. The best aggressive creature in each of those colors, really. Step Links is particularly good with Temur Battle Rage because of the ability to set up a turn where you trigger landfall several times, and then give it double strike. The support spells outside of the combo pieces are Mishra's Bauble, Jataxian Probe, and Street Wraith are your 0-mana cyclers, which help assemble your combo just by effectively reducing the number of cards in your deck so that you find those cards that matter, and also lowering your life for Death Shadow. And then interactive spells, 3 copies of Thoughtseize and 2 Lightning Bolt. Very straightforward. Thoughtseize is to attack your opponent's hand to make sure that the coast is clear when you go for a combo, or to prevent opposing spell decks from executing their game plan. Lightning Bolt is to handle opposing creatures. Both of those cards can be sideboarded out when your opponent is fighting on the other axis, which leads us to the sideboard. The sideboard has more of all the elements that are in the deck. So you have additional discard in the form of Inquisition of Kozilek to attack decks that are trying to assemble something with their own spells rather than creatures, or that have a lot of removal to break up your plan. Phyrexian Unlife is a dedicated sideboard card for the burn matchup. That matchup is very difficult, and this card is very good in that matchup. Stony Silence is very similar, but for affinity. It's very hard for them to beat this. It also has some applications against Tron and some other places. Grafdigger's Cage is another high-impact singleton bullet that we have access to. This one is good against Dredge and Goryo's Vengeance and some Collected Company strategies. Then we have additional large creatures to bring in against opponents who have a lot of removal, especially if that removal is Lightning Bolt. I've changed up my creature mix here from the Grand Prix. In the Grand Prix, I played 1 Tarmogoyf and 3 Hooting Mandrills. I'm playing a second Tarmogoyf for those matchups where you want additional creatures that are good at surviving Lightning Bolt, but you don't want to cut your Become Immenses, where you don't want to overload on cards that have the Delve mechanic. This allows you to bring in another big creature without feeling as obligated to cut more Become Immenses than you necessarily want to. This is particularly relevant against red decks that you're racing, most notably the Valakut decks, and also to some extent Burn. And Tasigur, I just want to try out. It's obviously a very similar card to Hooting Mandrills, but we give up Trample for a toughness and the activated ability. While this isn't the best deck for Texture's activated ability, I think that we can potentially get some value out of using it, and I think that the spots where you would want to do that are the spots where you're going to be boarding this card in. And it's also just nice that it matches up well against opposing 4/4s like Hooting Mandrels or Thought-Knot Seer. And then we have additional removal for spots where we want to interact with our opponent's permanents rather than their spells. Dismember, Lightning Helix for creatures, and Pyroclasm for creatures, and then Natural State and Ancient Grudge for artifacts. And again, these are all just singletons. This gives us the greatest variety of options and makes it very difficult for our opponent to plan for things. And each of these cards ends up being more functional than, or more high impact than you would expect because of all the cycling that you're doing. The last card that I haven't really talked about is the basic Forest, which mostly is there for decks that are playing Path to Exile or Ghost Quarter, but it also gives you a tiny bit more play against Blood Moon. That card is still very good against you, and also gives you the ability to fetch a land that doesn't hurt you against burn. So that is the deck that I'll be playing.